In today's video, when asked about the male occupant of the property, one neighbor revealed the remainder of the family had moved out some time ago. What do they mean, the remainder of the family moved out some time ago? That doesn't explain anything about the male occupant of the property. That just tells us that this property should potentially be empty. No one should be living at this property if the people moved out some time ago. Bearing in mind, they arrested one guy and they got it wrong. And the guy that they arrested, neighbors give statements to suggest that they saw that guy. But who saw this guy? Who saw this guy? Who saw the red car?
This is the extraordinary moment the prime suspect for Anne Widdecombe's murder was caught on CCTV, leaving his home just hours before the politician was found dead with severe head injury.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. I hope every single one of you are enjoying your evening so far. There's a few things that I want to talk about in regards to the murder of Anne Widdecombe. I'm sure most of you guys are aware of what's devastatingly taken place in Dartmoor. There's still a number of questions that have gone unanswered that are leaving a number of people curious. They want to know why a man from Rotherham would have travelled over 200 miles that morning, break into a 78-year-old high-profile politician's home and murder her, and then leave and instantly go back to Rotherham and then claim this isn't a political attack. People are curious to know why this has happened, how this has happened. And then all we get told is not to speculate, although the information that we're given is not making any sense. It's not adding up. We get told one thing, but it looks like something else. We get given more details eventually, and then you start scratching your head asking, well, why the hell was this happened? So early hours this morning, they actually revealed CCTV footage early in the morning. So we're talking about 7:45 in the morning. We can see the perpetrator getting in his car, holding what can only be described as some type of long stick. Now, initially, we were told about a van. I believe that van was linked to the first person, a 26-year-old guy that was arrested. And I believe he was some type of DIY guy or a caretaker of some sort. A 28-year-old that was arrested in Rotherham, he was driving a red car. Now, I don't know what the make of the car is, but he was driving the red car that we can see on the screen right now. And when we see him here, we can only assume that he's getting ready to make way to Anne's house. Again, this is 7:45 in the morning. He has to travel over 200 miles to get to this destination. If we look at the time where Anne stopped responding to the Channel 5 producer, that would have been around 12:20 during the afternoon. So if we look at that time frame, 7:45 in the morning, let's say he leaves at 8, that's taking him about 4.5 hours to get there. 4.5 hours. Now, another way we can make a determination on how long it would take to get there is knowing what car he was actually driving. Because something else we're going to need in order to support this narrative that this guy was the perpetrator is the red car in the locality of Anne's home. CCTV showing that same red car driving to the location along the motorway in Dartmoor, driving towards the residence. That right there would give the public more reassurance that they have in fact got the right man. It would then stop most of the speculation.
Family'd come back from somewhere and they wanted help bringing it back in. So I've come out, when they've arrived back, there's nothing here. When I've come out, I've looked to my right hand side and I'm like, there's a load of police around and everything. So I'm just like, oh, what's going on? So I've seen armed police, forensics, there's undercover cop cars and stuff like that. And then we've not thought, all the forensic and that was still here till 4 o'clock this morning. And then at about 3:30 this morning, a road recovery vehicle's turned up to take away the red car that's apparently linked.
Now, questions were asked to neighbors about the guy that lives there. And it's extremely interesting because I'm pretty sure people claim that the people that live there moved out a little while ago. So it says here, the man is reported to have been observed placing some kind of wooden stick into the passenger side of the red vehicle before driving away. Okay, there is no footage showing the guy driving away. We're going to look at the footage in a minute. When asked about the male occupant of the property, one neighbor revealed the remainder of the family had moved out some time ago. What do they even mean the remainder of the family moved out some time ago? So when asked about the male occupant of the property, so what do you know about the guy that lives in that property? Well, what I do know is the remainder of the family, so are they talking about his wife, his children, his sister, his brother, like his mum, his dad? The remainder of the family moved out some time ago. That doesn't explain anything about the male occupant of the property. That just tells us that this property should potentially be empty. No one should be living at this property if the people moved out some time ago. But this is not making any sense. The neighbor also added that nothing happens on this street. We've been living here for 12 years and nothing has ever happened. So she's basically saying they live in a great neighborhood. Nothing happens around here, but that's not the area this horrific situation took place in, is it? The question on our lips is why? Why did he travel over 200 miles all the way to Anne's home address? He knew exactly where he was going. Based on the information we're given this morning and what we're going to look at next, what we're going to see in the video footage next, he travels all the way there, commits this heinous act, and then travels all the way back. Same day. Why is the question that everybody wants to know. And based on what the media are telling us in this footage, this neighbor isn't describing anything about this guy. Who is this guy? Who is he? This is another reason why, ladies and gentlemen, there will be speculation. Of course, we want to be respectful, but remember, we are allowed to share our views and our opinions, and something that Anne Widdecombe stood up for was freedom of speech. So, again, respectful with the comments, respectful with the speculation. In my opinion, people speculating online shouldn't interfere with any investigation. You know, we're not in your office knocking on your door telling you, know what I mean? Come on. If anyone's got info that can help towards the investigation, I'm sure they'll be forwarding it to the right authorities. Yeah, another thing I know people are extremely frustrated with is the way the authorities put things across. They are being genuine with what they're saying because they wouldn't have at that point any information that would suggest it was terrorism related. That would then be making the assumption. Until they sit down, interview the guy and try and understand, you know, what's going on here, it makes sense for why they've said what they've said. But when it's a high profile politician, then you have information and details that suggest this guy woke up at a certain time in the morning, got into his little red car, traveled over 200 miles to a politician's house and killed her and then drove all the way back. It can't be, oh, it was just random. It was just random. This guy was on a prowl. He was looking for a home in Dortmund. He just stumbled across a high profile politician's house and hit her and stole nothing. It makes no sense, and it's the reason why it fuels speculation.
Marked police cars, others unmarked, arriving at around 9 p.m. on Saturday night at that address in Rotherham to carry out that arrest and take the suspect into custody. And that, as I say, Saturday night, which brings us now over 36 hours since that arrest. So one extension already granted. The police do have the ability to ask for further time through a magistrate's court. We at the minute have not had an update as to whether or not they've done that. Sky News spoke to a few of the immediate neighbours at the house there about their reaction as that arrest unfolded on Saturday night.
So police came outside, undercovers, went in, had like a few guns and went in. Just arrested him, took him away, and then they waited all night, seized his car, and that was it really,
Saw a load of police arriving, and then forensics come in with all the white suits on, 3 or 4 of those, cornered it all off, put tape across, and then a truck came later on and towed away the car.
This is the extraordinary moment the prime suspect for Anne Widdecombe's murder was caught on CCTV leaving his home just hours before the politician was found dead with severe head injuries.
We just pause it right there. We can see the time. We can see the time, right? We've got 7:51 a.m. in the morning, so it's actually 10 to 8 in the morning. The situation at Anne's home happens. As far as we are aware, the last message that was sent to her that she didn't respond to was 20 past 12 or 19 minutes past 12. So whatever happened is happening after Anne sent that last message, 19 minutes past 12. What we don't know about this moment in time is the scenario itself, how it all unfolded. Whether it was instantaneously, whether there was a build-up, whether there was a struggle, whether there was a sit-down, a conversation before this all happened. You know, did Anne know who the person was personally? Did they know who Anne was personally? Or was this just someone who knew Anne, but Anne didn't know her, and they done their due diligence on Anne, found out where she lived, and went there and decided to do the most heinous thing that anyone could do. And that was murder a 78-year-old in her own home. A defenseless 78-year-old woman. Coward. But back to the timeline, would it make sense for this car, and again, we don't even know what this car is. I know there's going to be some car experts watching this. I need you guys in the comments down below letting me know what car this is. The timeline of him leaving around 8 o'clock in the morning and getting there at 12:30, does it fit in? Does it fit in with the distance that you have to travel? The distance that that car will travel, miles per hour? Like, all of these things need to be looked at to really determine whether this is the perpetrator. And as I said earlier, more evidence supporting this red car being in that location. At the moment, if he's leaving at this time, you have to then say to yourself, well, he knows exactly what he's going to do that morning. He knows exactly what the agenda is. He knows exactly what the goal is. He knows exactly where the destination is. He must have it all written down, all typed down somewhere. This can't just be deemed as a random. If the guy was on the prowl in Rotherham, why Dartmoor, out of all places? Like there ain't more better plush places close by. This guy can get to London quicker than getting to Dartmoor. There's so many whys in this. It's not just why traveling all that way to do this. Why Anne? Why Anne out of all people?
Was before the politician was found dead with severe head injuries at her home more than 250 miles away. The driveway footage shows the 28-year-old man, now arrested by police, getting into a red hatchback with a large object described by neighbours as a wooden baton protruding from a pocket. He left his home shortly before 8 a.m. last Wednesday and is suspected of driving 267 miles to the 78-year-old's home on Dartmoor. Police say Anne died after being attacked at her bungalow in the remote village of Hayter at 12:30 p.m.
Another thing I want to ask is, how did he get in? How did he get into the bungalow without anyone seeing him? Did Anne let him in? Did he force his way in? Like, how did he get into the house? Bearing in mind, Anne wasn't found until the following day. 24 hours later, she was found dead in the kitchen. What? Hold on. How did he get into the house without anyone knowing? It took carers to go to the home. But then we've got Channel 5 producers messaging her, getting no response, and decide to do what? Nothing? It was just carers who were curious to know how Anne was doing, so they popped in and found her dead on the floor. And nobody, no witnesses, as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong here, but as far as I'm aware, as far as I've seen online, as far as we can read online, no witnesses have said, oh, well, we saw that car and that man in the locality, or we saw this man in the locality. See, the only neighbours that actually come forward to say they see anyone was the neighbours that pointed the finger at the initial suspect, who's now been given NFA, the guy with the white van. But what about the guy with the red car? It's things like this. When these questions can't get answered, it creates speculation, doesn't it? It creates that big void that people want to fill. And that's exactly what people are going to try and do, especially when it's a high-profile person like Anne. We respect the authorities need to do their job, and we'll never interfere in that. We don't plan to interfere in that, not me personally. We're just curious to know what the hell has happened here.
This is the police scene behind me here in Rotherham, where police arrested a 28-year-old man on suspicion of murdering politician Anne Widdecombe. Down to Devon and Cornwall Police Station, where he'll be interviewed in the coming hours and days in relation to the murder of Anne Widdecombe. Anne was due to appear later on Channel 5's Matt Allwright show at 1 p.m. We also know that
she was actually meant to appear on a show, hence why she was communicating with Channel 5. So there was nothing mysterious on Channel 5's end, because I know people in the comments have questioned, oh, the producer at Channel 5. No. She was meant to appear on a show, And before they was doing the appearance, they would have the Zoom meeting to make sure everyone's prepared. They know the narrative, they know the direction, and X, Y, and Z.
Replied to a text message from a producer at 12:19 and was due to link up via a Zoom meeting.
These are the messages that we shared in the last video. I know there was a number of people that were asking, oh, where did you get those messages from? Where did you get those messages from? I don't believe them. How can there be leaked messages? We've got sources, we've got people that will reach out. We've been doing this type of stuff for a very, very long time. And we do have genuine people that will reach out to us and say, look, Wax, take a look at this, take a look at that. And then we'll have to do our own due diligence to try and understand whether it is genuine or not.
Half an hour later, but never appeared. The police believed that times the murder at around 12:30. And it was over 24 hours later that her body, covered in blood from severe blunt trauma, was discovered by a carer who wanted to check in on her just to make sure she was okay. That carer raised the alarm and police began a huge murder probe and launched an immediate manhunt. And that manhunt led here to this red brick council house in Rotherham, where on Saturday night, shortly before 10 p.m, a fleet of police cars, both marked and unmarked, swooped on the property to arrest their prime suspect.
Okay, let me pause it right there. There's something else that has just sprung to mind that I do want to mention. How did they find this guy? How did they find him? See, it was mentioned by some lady on Talk TV, and this was someone that was scripted. I'm not talking about the host of Talk TV, but I'm talking about someone that was going on there as a guest just to kind of update Talk TV on what's actually going on. She sounded extremely scripted, I have to be honest. But she said there was CCTV that they didn't want to release because they didn't want to jeopardize catching their suspects, this guy. And at the time I was thinking, okay, so are we talking about CCTV that's based in Devon, in that location? Like, what CCTV are we talking about? You know, I didn't know what she was talking about. But then we saw this. I was thinking, okay, so this CCTV has been released of them running up in his house, X, Y, and Z. Okay, this CCTV's out there, but what CCTV was she talking about? This one? Or is there another one? Is it that CCTV that led them to understanding who this guy is? And now that they've had this guy in custody for over 36 hours, there should be some transparency over how they discovered this guy and why they decided to arrest this guy in X, Y, and Z. Hopefully in the next days, we get that information. And yes, there is CCTV of this guy getting into his car with something in his hand, but where's the rest of the CCTV that proves he drove to that destination? If you want to stop the speculation and reassure the people that you've got the right man and you're heading in the right direction, then these are things that you need to be transparent with. Let's be honest. But that's just something that comes to mind. I'm just thinking, how did they find this guy? Bearing in mind, they arrested one guy and they got it wrong. And the guy that they arrested, neighbors give statements to suggest that they saw that guy. But who saw this guy? Who saw this guy? Who saw the red car? You know? And this is not a conspiracy. Again, this is just asking logical questions, trying to understand how you got to this point of your investigation. That's it. That's it, because it's not making any sense. And hopefully the police will come out in the next coming days and make it make sense for us. I think I've said all I need to kind of say in this video so far. You know, there's still a number of things that are not making any sense. But one thing we can slightly be positive about is that they have a suspect. They have someone in custody who they believe is the perpetrator, the man that drove over 200 miles and viciously, savagely attacked, murdered Anne Widdecombe. Such a sad and tragic and disgusting event. Truly, truly sad. Condolences to Anne's friends and family. RIP to Anne Widdecombe. I need you guys to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if we are newly watching. Turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on future videos. Most importantly, leave those comments and all those thoughts and all of those opinions down below. Remember, be respectful. I appreciate every single one of you. I look forward to seeing you lot on the next one.